Okay, so I know I've been reviewing a lot of CFMOTO bikes lately, but I think I just found my favorite one yet. And yes, this one's a familiar face because I've already reviewed 2 other variants, and I know you guys love those reviews, but I personally think that this is the best among the 3. And yes, it's the 700CL-X ADV by CFMOTO. Alright, so there you go, the 700CL-X ADV by CFMOTO. And yes, this is one of the 3 variants that came out of the 700CL-X platform. So there's the Heritage, the Sports, and of course the Adventure. I'll talk about the differences and the similarities in a bit. But looking at it right now, personally, I think this is the best looking and the most macho looking bike in their lineup. And also, I think this is the most utilitarian. And this 700CL-X ADV is actually the Adventure version of the 700CL-X platform. So the Sports is like the cafe racer sports bike type, and the Heritage is like the Scrambler. So think of it like the Ducati Desert Sled, and the 700 Heritage is like the Scrambler. Okay, so now let's talk about the similarities. Yes, this is the exact same 700cc inline twin cylinder. Personally, I think this is the best sounding engine and one of the best performing engines in the CFMOTO lineup. But first, let's talk about the differences and the similarities. So for starters, one of the main differences that it has with the other 700CL-X variants is the windshield, the high fender, and the wheel sets. So down here we have my favorite rubbers. So these are Pirelli Scorpions STRs. So 18s up front and 17 at the back, wrapping around alloy spoke wheels, which is not something you'd normally see in this price point or in this class. You'd see a couple of spoke rims on other brands or other bikes, but not tubeless. And for this price point, it's really surprising how CFMOTO is able to add Pirelli Scorpion STRs on a spoke tubeless rim set. And then moving up here, we also have a fork guard here, but I really love the nice touch of the small X here that really ties up the whole look of this bike along with the X headlight. Looking at it from this angle, this one looks way more balanced than the Heritage and the Sports. They feel a little bit too wide and too short, but this one on the other hand feels wide, yes, but it's also tall, so it kind of gives it that mean aggressive look to it. Personally, I think this would look better if it had a metal grille here, maybe some handguards, and also maybe a crossbar here to kind of separate it even more from the Heritage and the Sports. Alright, so moving up here, we have really beefy front forks, which absorbs the rough trails really well, that are adjustable. So this demo bike is a little bit lowered, but obviously you can just adjust it anytime you want. Okay, so moving here at the side, it has a more modern look and finish to it. I love this color, but I wish they came up with a more monotone black version. This one in particular is plastic. I prefer the Heritage version, which I think is aluminum. But then again, this is an adventure bike, so you'd probably prefer plastic because this one is a lot cheaper. Okay, so side profile wise, other than the ride height, nothing much has changed aside from this one. This one actually comes in stock, and obviously the seat and some of the decals. But other than that, everything looks almost the same, at least when you look at it from here. The pegs, on the other hand, are a little bit more neutral. So this one's lined with rubber, so it's nicer to stand up on when you're on trails or when you're riding off-road. So they really change up quite a bit actually compared to the Heritage and the Sports. Okay, so like I said, same exact 700cc inline twin cylinder, which is quite possibly one of the best sounding stock engine in its class. A pretty powerful and smooth engine. It's very easy to shift gears and find neutral. Surprisingly very beefy and torquey. Power starts at low to mid, so that's where you get the most out of it, which is perfect for off-roading. It's also perfect for highways. But this is not the most fuel efficient bike I've tried in their lineup. I think this is on par, if not a little bit more thirsty than the 800MT, surprisingly. But then again, this is a big bike, so it's a given. But if you can look past the fuel consumption, this is actually a good dailyable bike because of how comfortable and commanding the stance is, with its relaxed and upright body posture that is perfect for on-road and off-road use. Okay, so moving here towards the rear, everything looks almost the same. So we have 17-inch spoke tubeless rims with the Pirelli Scorpion STRs. We also have a tire hugger, which I think is the same with the other variants. Personally, I think they wish they came up with a off-road oriented rear fender here, which extends all the way, increasing the length of the bike, which I think would make it look more off-road biased. But then again, these are all personal preferences, and I really like where CFMOTO is going with this one. Except for maybe the brakes, because this one sadly does not have Brembos, which I really wish it carried over. Okay, so continuing here at the back, we have the exact same taillight, but we also have this one. I'm assuming this is for a luggage rack, so you could tie some stuff here. We also have a really nicely finished or built-in side pannier racks for your soft bags, which I think would look nice on this bike. We also have a different textured seat. So this one's actually 3-tone, and they all have this rough texture. And one of the things that I love with the CL-X is having this really wide seat. I don't think they changed much with the seat size or the seat dimensions. It's equally as comfortable as the previous variants, and you can still stand up effortlessly while off-road. Alright, so moving here towards the other side, this one has been a bit battered. So you can see some scratches here, some scratches here. Because this bike has obviously been through a lot. So they used this in the recently concluded FJMoto series, which is a hardcore 3-day off-roading event. Plus, this bike also finished the Boss Ironman Endurance race, which lasted 1,200 kilometers. So there's no doubt about it, this bike can handle a lot. And yeah, surprisingly, despite how exposed these headers are, I'm actually quite surprised that it didn't hit anything. I wish CFMoto came up with maybe an underbelly crash guard, but I think it will stick out way too much for the bike. Another way that I think they could have managed this one is maybe they could have routed it on a different way, like maybe here and then going out here towards the back, just like some of the Royal Enfields and the Triumphs. I think it will give it an even more aggressive look and set it apart even more from the Heritage and the Sports. But then again, even though the heat is non-existent from the engine, obviously putting the pipe here would increase the heat on your legs and thighs. Alright, so now let's hop on the bike. So seat height for me is perfect. I'm 5'7" and I can pretty much flat foot the bike. The seat is a little bit wider than normal. The tank is also a bit wide, so your legs are pointing a little bit outward, but it's fine. I don't really mind it. But now let's talk about the driver's entry controls. Okay, so nothing much has changed here, but yeah, quality wise, everything's okay, I guess. Moving here to the left, we still have your low and high beam. We also have your cruise control, which is typical of CFMoto. We also have street and off-road. And then down here, we have your left and right turn signals and your horn. Okay, so moving here to the right, we have your hazard switch and your kill stop button and a broken side mirror from the FJMoto competition. Okay, so dash wise, I think it's okay, nothing special, especially when you compare it to other brands at this price point. But when you start to compare it with other newer CFMoto motorcycles, then it starts to kind of lag a bit. Because newer bikes from CFMoto has much nicer colored TFT displays. I really wish in the future that they would just change the orientation of the LCD to a vertical one, just like what you'd find in other adventure bikes, or maybe like a round digital ones. But personally, I think a vertically oriented rectangle is perfect for this bike. But anyway, dash wise, pretty basic. We have your select and your cycle button. So you have your RPM, your speed, your gear. Honestly, it only looks basic when you compare it to other newer CFMoto models. Headlight wise, you have the exact same XDRLs, LED headlights, LED turn signals, and LED X taillight. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. If you want a more in-depth video of the 700CL-X, please go and watch my 700CL-X Sports and Heritage review. On those videos, I touch more on towards the engine. But yeah, overall, I think this is my favorite bike in the whole CFMoto lineup. Not to mention, I think this is one of the only few bikes in its segment wherein it's a lifted scrambler with dual sport tires. So props to CFMoto for entering this segment. But yeah, it's starting to rain and we have to head back soon. But if you want to see more videos, please like and subscribe for more contents like this, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.